Good afternoon, everyone. It's almost spring break, and I was hoping to shoot this video outside underneath the lovely cherry blossom trees that are in the parking lot, but unfortunately it's pouring with rain, which it is apt to do at spring break. So I hope the next 2 weeks of spring break are a little sunnier than today is for you. Spring break is always a strange time at TLA because being a provincial school, a province-wide school, we sometimes end up coinciding with spring breaks for Surrey district, sometimes other districts. This year I think we're coinciding with several other independent schools, partly Delta School District, but I know many districts have their spring breaks all over the place this year. Next year we will coincide with Surrey. I've already done next year's calendar. So just a quick reminder that it is spring break starting Monday, and that will run into Easter. And I would like to take the opportunity now to wish everyone a wonderful Easter. What I wanted to talk about today was something that I did yesterday that I've been wanting to do for a very long time. I did an experiment. And it was just something that I had in my head because working with some of the ministry teams, particularly on changes in curriculum right now and looking at new ways of approaching curriculum, particularly competency-based learning, that kind of thing. One of the things that's repeatedly come up is the Science 10 provincial exam and other courses as well in the grad program that are very, very content based, and how valuable is it for students at that level in the 21st century to be examined on content when perhaps competency is more of the direction that people need to go. So one of the things that I wanted to do was, I had this little experiment in my mind that it would be kind of fun if I took a student who had studied the Science 10 content. So take a student who has studied Science 10 and ask her to write a provincial exam. And then take a student who hadn't studied Science 10. So I found a willing grade 9 student who has never studied the Science 10 content to have a go at the Science 10 exam. But the difference between the two people writing the exam was one was writing the exam having studied the content, and the other was writing the exam having not studied, but he was allowed to Google it. So I had two people in the office yesterday, two lovely young people, writing the Science 10 provincial exam. Now, this is not a statistically valid experiment. It was just a little bit of fun because I just wanted to see how it would turn out. And it was very, very interesting. They both got A's on the exam. So that, maybe is an interesting question for you as you think about the content in your home learning program and in the perhaps in the online courses as well. There's not a lot we can do about the content, but because it's provincially prescribed. But at the same time, it might be worthwhile thinking in terms of what does it mean to learn that content, and is it valuable learning that content, considering we have a device that looks like that we can Google it on, and yet knowing that content, I can still remember my physics formulas from school. I'm not sure that's terribly valuable and useful for me in life, but I still can, and I'm kind of proud of that. So just questions for you really, and things to reflect upon in terms of how you think about learning content versus skills and competencies in other areas. The other thing I wanted to mention was kind of almost on the opposite spectrum of that. I was listening to the radio this morning, and it was the article was about a school in Kenya. And this particular school in Kenya prides itself on its academic achievement, and the students in the school are not allowed to use mobile devices to communicate with other students in other schools. And it was actually a boys' school, so their concern was that they were not allowed to communicate with their friends in the girls' school. So, because they're not allowed to text and have mobile devices in the school. So what they decided to do, and this was very interesting, and it had become a real fun thing for them to do, was they went back to writing letters. One of the things that they were doing, one of the students was interviewing the other students about their calligraphy and about the content of the letters. And they also interviewed some of the girls who had received those letters and how delighted they were to actually receive a physical letter. Again, something to think about perhaps on the other end of the spectrum in terms of how we communicate and whether this is an appropriate way to do it, or whether an old-fashioned letter now and then might be a good thing. And anyone that wants to write me a letter, I would love to receive it. Just use the TLA address, and it would be lovely to receive a letter in the mail. So once again, have a very wonderful spring break and a very happy Easter.